This is my brutality. I'm gonna take back my title that never lost. Yeah. No. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have to break down Rhea Ripley's recent comments, okay? Her little, Twitter outrage, her little Twitter rant that she went on. I think it was yesterday it was. And I want to break this down because this rant is a simple, it's a message from a bigger issue, right? It's a symptom of a bigger problem. And the fact is that what Rhea Ripley said just exposed Triple H, obviously, triple fraud, I'm the gamer, I have bad booking, fiend. The game got exposed, and we also exposed basically WWE's entire roster in the softness that plagues WWE, because let's be honest, the roster, the booking, these people are soft for the most part, right? They have no actual effort or creativity, and we're going to discuss that. They have all a bunch of big egos, they're ready to take 100% of the credit and 0% of the blame. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at this Rhea Ripley tweet. I'll put it on the screen here. She basically said, women's wrestling fans say women deserve better, and in the same breath they say she's sleeping with her boss, that's why she's where she is, she should retire, she doesn't deserve it, she's handed everything and never worked for anything, I hope she gets injured. And then she basically adds on to that and says, you guys are the real reason, you guys, you fans are the real reason it's so difficult to be taken seriously as a women's wrestler. If you put as much effort into your own miserable lives as you put into degrading successful women, then maybe you would accomplish something yourself. Now let's take a look at this. Number one, Rhea Ripley just officially said that you guys are the real reason it's difficult to be taken seriously as a woman's wrestler. Let's go ahead and think about that for a second, okay? Because it's always the fans' fault. Every single time leading up to Mania 41, we saw it with Triple H. He told the fans multiple times, screw off, F off. If you don't want to watch it, just stop watching as a critic, watch as a fan. So now if you critique anything WWE does, you're not a real fan of a product that you've been watching for years. You get what I mean? Rhea Ripley has a bunch of bad stories, a bunch of nonsense storylines, a bunch of bad segments and mediocre matches, barely wrestles at all. We'll talk about that in a second. And she's saying that you guys, the fans, are the reason why she's not taken seriously. But the truth is, the reason why Rhea Ripley or Triple H or anyone, in WWE or in other companies too, other wrestlers lash out on Twitter like Ricochet, he goes on his Twitter rants, from time to time. Him and Javon Evans had a little battle, last week. But the reason that these wrestlers get upset over what's being said on the internet is because, number one, their ego is obviously fragile. They have a fragile ego, just like the head guy, Triple H has a fragile ego. They can't take criticism. And number two, they know that an inkling of what the fans are saying is 100% accurate. So because there's a little bit of truth in what the fans are saying and their flaws are being called out and everyone's constantly glazing them and telling them how great they are, so when they search their name up on Google or search their name up on Twitter and they see something bad, they find something to be upset about, or at least that's what it seems like. You know what I mean? Why are wrestlers on X crying so much? You get what I'm saying? Have you ever seen John Cena or Roman Reigns or CM Punk or Randy Orton arguing with fans on Twitter? No, because the fact is that when you're really an all-time great level talent, or you're a great, a top of the line level guy or girl, you're not going to be arguing with fans on Twitter. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? It's embarrassing. These wrestlers, this roster and Triple H are all entitled. Like I mentioned, they want 100% of the credit and 0% of the blame. So Triple H and wrestlers have basically become immediately incredibly soft. They take credit when things go well. Triple H says the internet isn't real, but whenever a social media segment they put out on Twitter, on Instagram, or YouTube does absolutely amazing, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't classify YouTube as social media, but you know what I mean. Instagram, TikTok, X, all that stuff. Whenever they put out a segment or some type of moment from a show and it gets a ton of views, they're like, oh, this got hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of millions of views, man. Wow. No way, tens of millions of views. Logan Paul punched a Uso, it's got 20 million views. And they brag about the social media stuff for multiple different things. However, when business is booming, right, you're selling out tickets like last year in the Build to Mania 40, and even a little bit after that, they were selling out tickets. They're like, business is booming. It's the best it's ever been. Welcome to the new era of garbage. And then when the big posts or articles come out glazing them and their success and how great this wrestler is and how great Triple H is, everyone's excited. It's great. But when the views are going down, like they are now, Raw started off with 6 million views globally on Netflix, and now they're struggling to get 2.8 to 2.9 million consistently globally. Remember all that bragging about, oh, well, we can reach hundreds of millions now, we can reach the whole world, and you're not even reaching 3 million people. It's embarrassing. And when fans complain about the Mania build like they did, they complained about Mania 41 itself and critiqued Triple H's booking and bashed him, or performers like Rhea Ripley get criticized, all of these people start to get defensive. They start crying on social media. Triple H is telling the fans to screw off. Rhea Ripley's telling the fans that your lives are so miserable. She doesn't even know these people, and these people don't really know the real Rhea Ripley, I'm sure. So why in the world are she telling them that they have miserable lives? It just shows you the ego on these wrestlers. Triple H, you know what I'm saying, Seth Rollins and Undertaker have all mentioned this in recent podcasts over the last few months. They basically mentioned that talent is not as hungry, you know what I mean, anymore as they used to be, for example, especially with less live events and less matches. Rollins and Taker were talking about the fact that, you know, there's situations now where you can't really practice your heel tendencies in ring, how to work a crowd, how to develop your moveset, how to sell well, how to sell injuries, how to get your story and your character across, because there's less live events, the stars are wrestling less and less and less, and there's less matches. So because of that, the stars are not as hungry because they're still getting paid the same amount as if they were wrestling a lot, so it makes them kind of, you know, not hungry to be great. And Undertaker was on his own podcast talking about how they're making TikToks backstage and they're soft. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. And I'm going to give you this stat. Rhea Ripley has 5 Raw matches and 7 PLEs since January 1st of 2024, and it's May 2025. That's 12 matches in around 500 days, but she's treated like a top star in women's wrestling and says it's hard to be taken seriously. You fans are the reason that it's hard to be taken seriously. You're not doing anything. You have 12 matches in 500 days, and you've had no good promos in that time span. But we're supposed to be taking you seriously. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no offense, but the fact is, more people in the mainstream and even some wrestling fans know Rhea Ripley and recognize her more for her physical appearance and their attraction to her and her aesthetic than her actual wrestling quality and promos. When you have more butt cheek pics than matches and good promos, why in the world would we be taking this seriously? You understand what I'm saying? If you have more tweets than matches, why would I be taking this seriously? You get what I'm saying? It's unbelievable, man. It makes absolutely no sense. Instead of complaining and talking about what the fans are doing and how the fans are in the fault, man, you guys are the reason why we can't be taken seriously. It's your fault. You did this. Your problem. You. No, point the finger at yourself. Talk to Triple H, the guy who's booking and making your storylines. The fans are not paying your bills. They're not making your stories. WWE and the corporations in Triple H, TKO, they're cutting your checks. They're giving you your stories. They're giving you your matches and your promos, and it's your job to take that and turn it into gold, turn garbage into gold. That is what your job is as a top star. And considering talking about top stars, if Jey Uso is the top star on Raw, I guess because he's the world champion, he's the most over face on Raw right now, and then Rhea Ripley is the top woman in the women's division just because of, you know, her popularity and obviously because of how over she is, I get that, and you still are losing viewership rapidly with Raw and Netflix, then clearly you need to look in the mirror. If you two are the head people on the show and the views are drastically going down as you guys are showing up every week, you and Jey Uso and other jobbers, for example, then clearly you aren't doing good enough. Whenever a show is doing great, everybody's getting praised. So when a show's doing bad, the same top stars getting praised should be the ones that are getting bashed. It's as simple as that. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And if the booker, Triple H, can't do his job, then get him out too. I don't care. You know what I mean? Why are you making these people are making millions of dollars for barely having to work 12 matches in 500 days? Are you out of your mind? And you're getting paid millions for that, and you have the audacity to say the fans are the reason that it's hard to be taken seriously, and they need to put effort into their miserable lives. What are you talking about? Why don't you put effort? You know what I'm saying? Where's your effort at? You know what I mean? 12 matches in 500 days. Where's Triple H's effort at? The creativity is lacking. I booked a better Backlash card in 30 seconds than Triple H could in 3 weeks. You understand what I'm saying? Look at the card that we got for Backlash with Cena and Orton, and you know what I'm saying? What were the other matches? All the slop, Lyra versus Becky, and the Fatu, you know, fatal 4-way thing for the U.S. title, Pat McAfee versus Gunther, which was an embarrassment, and Penta versus Dominic, which is another Raw match. And my card consisted of either Dominic versus Sheamus, or Dominic not even being there, doing Rollins versus Jey Uso, the same match he had on Raw for the world title. Do that at Backlash and have Punk return. There's Gravitas. Have Cena and Orton still. Have Gunther rematch Jey Uso, or have Jey Uso just fight Logan Paul on the actual PLE, you know what I mean? Dominic Mysterio fight Sheamus, like I said, or fight someone else, fight Braun Breaker in a rematch maybe, you know what I mean? Or you could have a situation where you had Io versus Stephanie Vaquer, or Io versus Rhea rematch, you know, for the world title. Or you could have had Io Sky versus, you know, Roxanne Perez for the one-on-one for the world title. And that would have been a much better card, and then you could have done Fatu versus Drew McIntyre for the U.S. Championship. That alone is a better card and would have been a better show than what we got, which was a bunch of Raw matches and a solid main event. That's all that Backlash was. You get what I'm saying? But I'm supposed to sit here and just be okay with the garbage content we're getting. The fans are always going to have the fan perspective because we're watching the product to be entertained. It's World Wrestling entertainment. So if you are not entertaining us, you're not developing in the ring, you're not developing on the mic, you're not entertaining anybody, why in the world would we actually sit here and praise you for it? Any fan in their right mind should not be praising Triple H or Rhea Ripley at all because they haven't done anything, at least in recent memory. And this is becoming a bigger problem because the talent is getting so full of themselves when they have not contributed anything. Anything. Like, for example, Rhea Ripley gets her millions of dollars or whatever it is, and she still realistically, over the last few years, can you really say that she has really developed as a storyteller, as a character worker, and as a mic worker? Can you really say that? No, you can't. She hasn't developed. How do you have all this spotlight, all this, this narrative that you're the top woman, and you haven't developed as a storyteller, as a mic worker at all? And Rhea Ripley probably knows she's not a great mic worker. We already know this. And in the in-ring, she hasn't had any really great or elite level matches since Mania 39 2 years ago versus Charlotte Flair, and since then she had one elite match and it was a triple threat with her, Bianca, and Io. And Bianca and Io are obviously way better in-ring performers, or at least better in-ring performers than Rhea Ripley is. Io's way better and Bianca's just pretty much better than her in the ring, and it's not even close. So why in the world are we sitting here and sucking up? Why should we have to suck up and just glaze everything? You get what I mean? Like, as an overall performer with storytelling, charisma, you know what I'm saying, entrance, promo ability, in-ring performing, consistency, longevity, etc., and peak, obviously, of their, their potential, the actual overall performer, Rhea Ripley, that's based off of all those things, is just solid or decent at best. There's nothing about her that puts her in the level of being, very good or great or even amazing. It's not like that. She's not a next level, elite level talent like Charlotte, who's one of the best in-ring performers in women's wrestling history. Mercedes Moné is the same thing. Toni Storm, amazing character worker, amazing storyteller, solid on the mic, and has pretty good matches. You get what I mean? Becky Lynch, obviously one of the all-time greats. Bianca Belair is better than Rhea Ripley in the ring and on the mic. Io Sky, even her promos being short, you know what I'm saying, and actually, getting the point across quickly with her line delivery and her little, thing where she points at herself as starting to get over, and obviously she's the best in-ring performer in the entire company. So Io Sky is better than Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan is better than Rhea Ripley, or at least equal to her, if not better, in my opinion. Naomi, worse than Rhea Ripley in the ring, I'll give you that, but at every other aspect, promos, storytelling, gimmick, character work, Naomi is way better than Rhea Ripley. And Tiffany Stratton, even though I don't know if she's better than Rhea Ripley, she does more than Rhea Ripley in terms of wrestling and being a somewhat fighting champion and being someone who's showing up consistently and actually contributing to storylines. You get what I mean? And Tiffany naturally got over faster than Rhea Ripley did. So it's as simple as that. It's not opinion, it's truth. We're seeing it in front of our face. It makes absolutely no sense. There is an issue here. The talent's getting so full of themselves, and they haven't done anything, man. How in the world can Rhea Ripley be, stagnant on the mic quality-wise and stagnant in ring for this long? There's no clear drive to improve, at least from what we're seeing, because we're not seeing improvement. And these fans now are believing in the lie as well. They're boosting the lie that these wrestlers are so great because they chant, "You deserve it! You deserve it! This is awesome!" And then the match is Piper Niven versus Zelina Vega. Grow up, man. This is not awesome. This is garbage. And they're chanting for people based on gimmicks and phrases rather than actual quality. Jey Uso gets over on a yeet chant, gets in the ring, and puts on a mediocre match time after time after time. Some of the matches are honestly pretty bad. But guess what? He's your world champion, and he's the one yeeting, and he's the one getting all the big crowd pops. Cody Rhodes, whoa, comes out, cuts a bad promo. Next week, whoa, cuts a bad promo. Next week, I respect you here. I love you here. I need you here. You know what I'm saying? That's not a good promo. And when you have 10 title defenses as a full-time performer in an entire year of having the belt, why should I be treating this guy like he's a top dude? He's not. You have to be real with yourself and actually judge it off of what's actually happening. Rhea Ripley is the same thing. We already went through that. Braun Breaker has a lot of talent. He's over with the barking gimmick and all that stuff, but he's a mindless character now. He's just a bot dummy going out there as a henchman to hurt people. That's all he's doing. You took someone with that talent, and that's what you turned him into because the Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman storyline is garbage. You get what I mean? Like I mentioned before, Cody Rhodes, for example, right? This is something I need to mention as well. The fans, when they're usually, right, I say like 70 to 80% of the time, when fans are critiquing the product or critiquing the actual, the stuff that's happening from the segment perspective and the matches and the wrestler's performance, they're critiquing the entertainment part of it. No one is actually hating on Rhea Ripley, the human being. Like, for example, when I'm talking about how bad Cody's championship reign is and the libations and libations and libations, you get what I'm saying? Wheatley, so good, I drink it neat. Wheatley. When I'm talking about Cody Rhodes and making fun of his title reign and how garbage it was, right, and how bad he was on the mic for a lot of segments, actually, you do understand that it is critiquing the entertainment that I am getting on the TV screen. I have no personal vendetta against Triple H or Cody Rhodes or Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan or any of these people. You think if I see Cody Rhodes in a grocery store, I'm going to start throwing stuff at him and be like, I hate you, Cody Rhodes. I can't stand you, man. I don't want your libations, dude. I don't want your Wheatley, dude. No. It's not like that. If I saw Cody Rhodes, I have respect for Cody Rhodes and all these wrestlers. They put their bodies on the line to entertain us and to put on, sometimes good shows. And I respect all these wrestlers no matter what. But the point is we're critiquing the product and the entertainment. No one is taking a personal attack at your character. At least I'm not. And, most fans are probably not doing it. They don't have ill will behind it. And that's just a simple facts. But the wrestlers don't understand this. Anytime you say that their segment was bad or the booking for them is bad, they would rather take that as an issue towards them than take it as an issue towards the person who's booking them. If someone says you're creative or your segments or your matches are booked poorly, it's the guy's Triple H's fault, not yours. So go talk to Triple Fraud instead of talking to the fans. You get what I mean? But the point is, like I was mentioning, Cody had 10 title defenses and they were all predictable with bad storytelling. And he had the belt for over a year. Gunther had an 8-month title reign with 5 or 6 title defenses, and he signs a brand new fat contract, gets a tour bus now. He gets rewarded for mediocrity. And this mindset of rewarding people for mediocrity basically lets them get by with being mediocre. So they believe they're doing great when they're really not. Seth Rollins complains for, the whole time Roman was champion, he was complaining. He's like, I should be that top guy. I should have that belt. And then he got the world title, and he's like, man, it kind of feels like a consolation prize because Roman's part-time and he's never here and he still has the top belt and he's the top guy and everyone loves him. I'm like, dude, Roman Reigns is better than you, bro. Rollins is not built for this. They just gave you the head storyline on Raw and in all of WWE with this Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman gimmick. Number one, it makes no sense for Heyman to be on Rollins' side. And number two, the storyline so far has been absolutely boring. Number three, there's no chemistry or extra entertainment or charisma factor with anyone inside of this faction working together because they just don't have it. Roman, Paul, and the Usos, there's just that natural chemistry. Obviously, they're family, right? But even people who weren't family, Roman and Sami Zayn had incredible chemistry and put on amazing segments and amazing stories for months. They were able to cultivate that, and it immediately became great. Why is it that Braun Breaker, Rollins, and Heyman can come together, and it's not immediately great? The reason why is because Seth Rollins is not as great as everyone says he is. Rollins is one of my favorite wrestlers. Don't get me wrong. One of my favorites, and I mean that. Rollins is amazing. He is a workhorse, and he has done great things for this company. He sacrificed a lot. He sacrificed his body. I understand that. But Seth Rollins is not Roman Reigns. He's not as great as Roman Reigns. And that is why, if Rollins was so good, he would not be the guy that when they gave the number one title to, like they did in 2019, they gave him the belt, and he was we're going around with Becky Lynch, and they were doing that storyline, and it didn't work. The reason it didn't work is because Seth Rollins is not that guy. Anytime they give him a title to be a top guy, it becomes boring or stale within a month or two of the reign. Just like the world title reign in 2023. It was cool to see him with a world title belt the first month or two. After that faded off, everyone was complaining about how mid the reign was and how underwhelming it was and how disappointing it was, and it wasn't entertaining anymore. That is what it was. So Seth Rollins is not that guy. If he was that guy, he wouldn't be doing all these Monday Night Messiah gimmicks and the architect, the visionary. He was, before the whole whoa chant, Seth Rollins' career was struggling. You have to understand that. This is just a fact of what it was. His career was struggling. Nobody really cared about any storyline he was involved in. Let's be real with ourselves. And because of that, he got the whoa thing, and he rose back up on the card again and all that stuff. But he ain't Roman Reigns. If he was, he'd be the one with the 4 to 5 year championship reign, carrying the company, being the head marketer, the head marketing piece for all these shows and all these big Mania matches and all this stuff. That would have been Seth Rollins' role, but he didn't get it because he ain't built for this moment. I hate to say it, but it's facts. I love Seth Rollins, but that's just the honest truth, and I gotta tell you guys like it is. And Rhea Ripley obviously doesn't do anything. Her first world title reign, do you remember anything memorable that happened in that, 350-day long championship reign? Does anyone remember anything that happened in that reign? Absolutely not. Does anyone remember what happened in her second reign besides the fact that she lost it to Io in a Raw match? Thank you. It's as simple as that. The fans are just most of the fans, I'd say, are calling out the criticisms and the actual facts of why the product is bad and why certain wrestlers are not performing to the way that they should. And the blame realistically should be thrown at Triple Fraud, in my personal opinion. And so because these wrestlers want all the credit and adoration when things go well and all this stuff, and they want to be treated like superstars when they're not doing superstar stuff, that's what you get. You're not Roman Reigns. You're not John Cena. You're not The Rock. You're not CM Punk. You're not drawing a dime. You're not drawing any extra viewers to the product. You're not selling out arenas when you show up. You're not marquee main eventing shows and having amazing matches. You're not doing that. So why in the world would anybody actually believe that you are on this level? You understand? That is why you are not taken seriously. You are not taken seriously because of the merits of the quality of what you're actually putting out on the TV screen and what your booker is perpetrating to us every single week and what he's saying off camera in his little interviews and his podcasts. And it's as simple as that. And arguing with the fans, this is the last point I want to say. Arguing with the fans is utterly embarrassing. And honestly, it just kind of shows you that you're weak. Now, obviously, I don't have millions of eyeballs on me, you know what I'm saying, every week. But anybody who's done social media, you know what I mean? They know that over time, you're going to get hate DMs. You're going to get hate comments. You'll even get hate emails. You know what I'm saying? Your boy's got some hate emails. You know what I mean? But the thing is it's about how you respond. If someone goes out of their way to harshly talk about you and they don't know you at all and they name call you and all this stuff, it should not matter for multiple reasons. Number one, it shouldn't matter because they don't know the real you. Or I guess maybe they do if you're responding to them and you're adding fuel to their fire. You get what I'm saying? Or number two, you are the one being talked about. You get what I mean? So you are the one who carries the value in the situation. The fan, Libation Station 87 or Johnny Boy 123 and wherever in Mississippi, commenting on Twitter at your local McDonald's or local wherever the heck, that person should have no merit on how you feel about your personal performance unless what they're saying is really true and you just don't want to admit it about yourself. And so that's a simple fact. And then obviously, if you're getting millions of dollars a year for doing nothing, why are you worried about Libation Station 78 on Twitter and what he has to say about your performance? You get what I mean? You have to be more strong-minded and you have to focus on being the best performer you can be and not arguing with Twitter comments. It says more about you commenting back to the Twitter person than it does about the actual commenter. And that's just the facts. If you can send more tweets than you have matches, or if you've had more tweets than you've had good promos, then I don't want to hear anything about you complaining about fan criticisms or about how the fans are the reason that you aren't taken seriously. It's as simple as that. With that being said, that is why what Rhea Ripley said is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion, and she kind of is playing the victim, and it's as simple as that. With that being said, I thank you guys so much for watching this video. Have a phenomenal day, and continue to speak your truth whether people like it or not. Whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, shut your mouths and enjoy the ride that C. Jackson's taking you on. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out, and one love.